Imagine opening your eyes on Christmas morning and seeing frost traced across the inside of your bedroom window. Your breath hangs in the air even before you sit up. The cold nips at your nose as you pull the covers tighter around you. This wasn't just any winter. This was Christmas in 1970s Britain, when homes were freezing cold, but hearts somehow felt warmer than ever. For those who remember it, Christmas back then wasn't about abundance. It wasn't about piles of gifts or endless choice. It was about making do, about pulling closer together, about finding magic in simple moments. One main present, one family television, one shared experience that brought the whole country to a halt at the same time. If you lived through a 1970s Christmas, brace yourself. These memories still hit deep. Bedrooms felt like iceboxes. Waking up on Christmas morning meant preparing yourself mentally. Single-glazed windows were coated in delicate frost patterns. Ferns, spirals, and frozen lace blooming on the glass. You'd scrape a patch clear with your fingernail just to check if it had snowed overnight. Central heating was a luxury most families didn't have. You slept beneath heavy blankets, sometimes with a coat laid across the top for extra warmth. Clothes were laid out the night before, usually at the foot of the bed, because getting dressed in that cold took planning and courage. Downstairs, there was one coal fire, and that was the heart of the house. Christmas morning meant leaping out of bed, grabbing your presents, and racing downstairs to the living room, where the fire might already be burning if you were lucky. Dad would have been up since before dawn, battling damp coal, rolled-up newspaper, and stubborn kindling. When the fire finally caught, that smell, the coal smoke, the warmth spreading, meant Christmas had officially begun. No one complained about the cold. It was simply part of life. Cold bedrooms, icy bathrooms, and one warm room where everyone gathered. Somehow, that made Christmas feel even more special. The dash across freezing floorboards, the relief of sitting near the fire, the anticipation built into every moment made you grateful for what you had. The Christmas tree went up a week before the big day, never earlier. Decorations were chaotic and mismatched, but beautiful in their own way. Multicolored fairy lights took ages to untangle, and half of them never worked. Dad would spend Christmas Eve testing bulbs one by one, muttering under his breath until, finally, the whole string flickered into life. The baubles were fragile glass ones, some passed down from grandparents, others newer, but nothing matched. Red beside silver beside gold. The tree itself was usually artificial, slightly crooked, bought from Woolworths. Real trees were expensive and messy. Tinsel went everywhere, wrapped around the tree, draped along the mantelpiece, looped over the banister. Paper decorations were pulled out like concertinas and pinned across the ceiling with drawing pins or tape. By Boxing Day, half of them sagged or had fallen down completely, and taller relatives walked straight into them. But it looked festive. It looked like Christmas. When the lights were switched on, the room glowed. There was a smell too. Dust burning off warm bulbs, coal smoke from the fire, and whatever Mum was cooking in the kitchen. That smell meant Christmas. The double Christmas edition of the Radio Times and TV Times arrived like treasure. Thick, glossy, and packed with listings. Christmas television mattered. There was no recording, no pausing, no catch-up. If you missed something, it was gone forever. Families sat together circling programs with pens, arguing over what to watch. Films, Christmas specials, and of course, Morecambe and Wise. The generation gap disappeared because everyone watched the same 3 channels: BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. From December 23rd onward, the schedule was packed. Christmas morning began with cartoons. You were up at 6, shivering in your pajamas, huddled in front of the television with a selection box in your hands. Even the TV took time to wake up, humming and crackling as the picture slowly appeared. At 3 o'clock came the Queen's speech. The entire country stopped. Christmas dinner was planned around it. Mum panicked in the kitchen while everyone else waited in the living room, already full of sweets. Then came the highlight, the Morecambe and Wise Christmas special. In 1977, it drew 28 million viewers, half the population of Britain. Everyone watched it. Elton John wandering lost through Television Centre. The famous dance routines. Eric and Ernie dressed as Charlotte Rampling. It was a shared national moment that simply doesn't exist anymore. Food in the 1970s was simple but special. Christmas dinner was traditional. If your family served prawn cocktail as a starter, you knew you were doing well. Iceberg lettuce, tinned prawns, Marie Rose sauce, served in a glass dish. It felt incredibly fancy. If not that, maybe pâté shaped like a Christmas tree, served with toast triangles. The turkey was massive. Mum had been tending to it since early morning, spooning fat over the top, worrying endlessly. Roast potatoes, Brussels sprouts boiled until they surrendered, carrots, parsnips, gravy made from granules, bread sauce, cranberry sauce straight from a tin. It wasn't fancy, but it was comforting and filling, exactly what Christmas should taste like. Then came the pudding. Dark, dense Christmas pudding soaked in brandy and set alight. Blue flames flickered as everyone watched. Somewhere inside was a silver sixpence, promising good luck to whoever found it. Served with custard or brandy butter, it was rich, heavy, and absolutely essential. After dinner came the explosion of wrapping paper. No one saved it. Presents were ripped open with excitement, paper flying everywhere, the carpet disappearing beneath bright, gaudy patterns. Soon after, full and sleepy, the family collapsed in front of the television again. Maury films, Maury chocolates. The tin of Quality Street or Roses was passed around until only the hard toffees were left. Christmas presents were different then. You didn't get loads of them. You got one big present, the thing you dreamed about all year, and maybe a few small extras. Socks from your nan, a selection box. But that one main gift mattered. A chopper bike with high handlebars and a gear stick made you king of the street. Girls might get Tiny Tears, the doll that cried real tears. Or maybe an etch-a sketch, a space hopper, or skelkstrick. These weren't disposable toys. They were treasured, looked after carefully because you knew you wouldn't get another for a long time. Corner shops opened briefly on Christmas morning, just in case someone needed milk or bread. The shopkeeper wished everyone Merry Christmas and slipped sweets to the children. The milkman still delivered, bottles clinking on doorsteps before dawn. Extra pints were ordered because Christmas meant endless cups of tea. Coal had been delivered earlier in the week. Running out was unthinkable. Streets were quiet. Few cars. People stayed home. Neighbors waved across garden fences, shouting Christmas greetings. If someone elderly lived alone, someone checked on them, brought food, or invited them in. It wasn't organized. It was just how things were done. As evening fell, the house cooled again. The fire needed constant attention. Sit too close and you roasted. Sit too far and you froze. Families squeezed together on the sofa, fighting for the warmest spot. Tree lights twinkled. Biscuits were passed around. Familiar films played again, watched not because they were new, but because it was Christmas. Eventually, exhaustion set in. Children fell asleep. Adults lingered with sherry in hand. The fire burned low. Frost crept back across the windows. Bedtime meant running upstairs and diving under the covers, sometimes still dressed, waiting for your body heat to warm the bed. The next day would bring leftovers, Boxing Day television, and more chocolate. But Christmas Day was over, and it had been perfect. Ask anyone who remembers Christmas in 1970s Britain and they'll say the same thing. We had less, fewer presents, fewer channels, colder homes, but somehow it felt like more. Maury togetherness, Maury shared moments. The whole family in one room. The whole nation watching the same program at the same time. The 70s weren't easier. They were colder, tougher, and harder in many ways, but Christmas felt special. It felt earned. The cold outside made the warmth inside feel precious. That one perfect present meant everything. Christmas today is warmer and easier, but something was lost. The simplicity, the anticipation, the shared joy. If you lived through it, you understand. The frost on the windows, the coal fire smell. The family gathered for Morecambe and Wise. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. If this brought back memories, share it with someone who remembers. Subscribe to keep these stories alive and tell us your favorite Christmas memory from the 1970s. These moments are worth more than any present.